Well, let's stay with that matter. The Mpumalanga Executive Council spokesperson, Mr. Thulasizwe Thomo, joins us for more on what we heard from the Mpumalanga Premier today. Mr. Thomo, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I think firstly, just talk to me about the sort of deliberations that have been taking place with the Premier in the lead up to this reshuffle that we saw in Mpumalanga today.
No, thanks, Naledi. Maybe firstly, let me start by, on behalf of the people of Mpumalanga and the Executive Council of Mpumalanga, to convey our sincere condolences to one of the revered and highly respected pastors, Dr. Kumbi, who was one of our members of the community of Mpumalanga who passed away yesterday. Maybe coming back to your question, the reconfiguration or reshuffling which was made by the Premier today, was actually informed by numerous rigorous assessment processes that took place since we have assumed our positions as executive members. So the Premier, as an executive authority, has a duty to act in the best interest of good governance, efficient service delivery, and public trust. So he is also entrusted by the Constitution, which is Section 132, subsection 2 of the Constitution, that empowers him to either appoint or dismiss any member of the executive. So the process which led us to this was, of course, a process of assessment, and of course, the one-on-ones that we normally take with the Premier, and the performance of each and every MEC. So these were a part of the building ups that took place, which has landed us to this particular day.
Yeah, we've got obviously our reporter who was, following the story quite closely. But one thing certainly jumped out at me: the issue of the HOD for Culture, Sports and Recreation, Mr. Godfrey Ndombela, the issue of him being terminated in that position with immediate effect. It's quite a complex one, right? There's a sense, there's an understanding that he believes that his contract was extended by the previous Premier for a further period. But the Premier today saying that the previous Premier, Refilwe Mtwenitsipane, in fact, did not sign off on the extension of his contract, and that there is, wait, I need to find the words. It says, it has also come to my attention that a fraudulent activity has been committed where former Premier's electronic signature was used in the purported extension. That is quite the allegation. How did that come about? The finding out that the extension of his contract was because of an abused electronic signature?
Yeah, the Premier, the current Premier, after questioning the extension, which Mr. Ndombela claimed that it was signed by the then Premier, he had engagements with his predecessor, which is Mayor Refilwe Mtwenitsipane, to establish as to whether such has happened. And through a sworn affidavit, the then Premier has rejected those claims to say those are just lies. She has no knowledge. The only extension that she knows is the extension of which ended in 2024 September. So the Premier, the current Premier, then commissioned an investigation to establish as to really what has really transpired to this claim that Mr. Ndombela claims that he has been extended up until to 2027. Upon this investigation, it was established that a signature of a former Premier, which is the electronic signature, was forged, used, and there was exchange of money. To that effect, the person who actually used or aided Mr. Ndombela during these processes of the signature came forth with a sworn affidavit claiming that he assisted or she assisted, because I also don't know that particular person, but there was that sworn affidavit from that person to say, yes, I assisted, and there was an amount which was deposited to my account of 80,000 to assist the process. So this is serious criminal charge, or rather allegations that warrants for further investigation by the law enforcement authorities. That is why the Premier has opted to inform the acting commissioner, Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, to further investigate the matter. And if there has to be some criminal charges that should be laid, such has to be made. But it is the Premier, because he also committed today in his media briefing that is going to come back to the people of the media to outline and clearly clarify this matter on what is the way forward. But we're also going to be waiting for the Lieutenant General, which is the Commissioner, to tell us in terms of what is it that they might have found, so that we can take to task those that might have engaged in this heinous crime.
And what was the latest on the matter that came out of the Mpumalanga Department of Education of 22 high-performance laptops that were procured to the value of more than 2 million rand? And is that part of the motivation as to why we see even changes within the Department of Education in the province? But what's the update on the investigations there?
Yeah, Naledi, the Premier committed before every one that was there today that the investigation is going to be concluded and is going to come back and also appraise people of South Africa in terms of what the investigation entails. I cannot be able to tell you in terms of how far is that particular investigation, but he committed that by the end of this month, he's going to come and appraise people of South Africa in Mpumalanga in terms of that particular investigation. In terms of these changes, like I said to you, they were necessitated by performance. It cannot only be this matter. He was clear on that. He said he looked at our overall performance during this assessment. So it cannot be this matter. This matter is separate. It's a matter that was investigated or is still being investigated, which the Premier by the end of this month is going to come before South Africa and the people of Mpumalanga to appraise you in terms of what is it that they have found as reasons that might have led to this procurement of a laptop with those exorbitant amounts.
I might be presumptuous, but I'm going to take the shot nonetheless. We did, of course, see this Saturday the funeral of the former Deputy President, David Mabuza. And the question may pop up for some about just how much politics is playing a role in this reshuffle that we see taking place in the province that we know was a very big stronghold for the former Deputy President. Is that taking that sort of thinking too far?
No, I think you are being too far. Look, like I said to you, the Premier is empowered by the supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution, Section 132, subsection 2, to either appoint or dismiss. So it can never be politics. He was exercising his prerogative, and also based on the performance, because I'm saying to you, this was not an easy task for him. He said it. It was not even a hasty decision. It was informed by rigorous assessment processes of all of us. So it can never be politics that informed him to do these changes. No. Okay. Yes, we're politicians, but it can never be politics or either dynamics that are happening in the province that are political.
All right. At the same time, Mpumalanga, very much a heavy mining, an energy-laden province. So you've got the new MEC for the Department of Economic Development, for instance, that also is being tasked with putting together a mining indaba and investment summit, and quite a few priorities that have been put together for these new MECs. Your key message to the new executive of the province as we close off?
Importantly for us, which was also echoed by the Premier, is that we have a challenge, or rather a duty, of responding to the high rate of unemployment in the province. What we need to do, all of us, is that we must ensure that we grow the economy of this province so that we can respond into the issue of job creation. So if we can build a stable economy that is growing in the province, we're going to be able to respond to this exponential growth of unemployment, particularly amongst young people. So we need to put our hands together and pull towards the same direction.
All right. Well, we're going to leave it there. Mr. Thulasizwe Thomo there, who is a spokesperson for the Mpumalanga Executive Council, as we reflect on the Premier of Mpumalanga, Mandla Ndhlovu, today announcing changes to the province's Executive Council.